Ahoy there, folks. I'm Captain Benzie, and I am literally fresh back from the EVE Online keynote, back into my ever-so-messy hotel room. But I wanted to sit down and talk with you all. Please forgive the absolutely shoddy camera on here and terrible lighting, but this is better than just having a black screen and me talking. I wanted to talk to you all about what was in this keynote, what was exciting about it, and what's worth paying attention to. Now, at some point in the future, I may redo this with actual flashy graphics and stuff in the background as well, talking about each of the individual points. But I've just come back, so I kind of want to get it out of my head and onto a video for you all as soon as possible, and we'll go back and do this properly later on. So Fanfest, first of all, it has been amazing. If you've been following this channel at all, check out my shorts. You'll have seen I've been doing tons of stuff, just walking around and talking about my experience here, what's been going on, how it's all been. It's here on YouTube, it's on Instagram, it's on a couple of other places as well. And it's just been incredible getting to meet so many people from the community, talk to them, and, you know, put faces to names and all of this jazz as well, and just make some new friends in New Eden. But anyway, it's not why you clicked on this video, is it? So the keynote, oh boy. So the keynote opened with us sitting in the main stage at Laugardal Scholl, however the hell you pronounce that, at the arena, and the main stage there, with them showing some footage of the new Jovian gates, the 4 new Jovian stargates that we've seen. Those have been located. Those have now opened, allowing people to enter into this very exciting new system that has a new station, the Fulcrum, and this really cool system effect to it as well. That already is pretty sweet, but alongside that, we've also seen that doing stuff in there, Zarzak, I think it's called, we're going to get access to the deathless new ships. They're technically Gurustus Pirates and Angel Cartel, which is, we already know this is how we're going to get the new Angel Cartel destroyer and the new Mumba destroyer for the Gurustus Pirates. I cannot for the life of me remember what the Angel Cartel's destroyer is called. On top of this, they announced later in the keynote as well, this was also going to include a new battle cruiser for both the Gurustus Pirates and the Angel Cartel as well. And giving me a battle cruiser-sized Cinnaball to play around with, or a battle cruiser-sized Healer to play around with that looks like a Drake, yeah, I'm pretty down for both those options. And to me, that's kind of exciting. So I'm keen to see how those fly. Before we go too far into the Fanfest thing, I do just want to say we've obviously got the stats for the Mumba and the Mecharam, or whatever it's called, the Angel Cartel Destroyer. The stats do seem a little bit undertuned, but I'm still keen to give them a go. Obviously, giving me a worm that's a destroyer, I'm very, very happy with. And the Angel Cartel one looks kind of like artillery is going to be a lot of fun on it. Like, it reminds me of pre-nerf Svipple, which can only really be considered a good thing, right? Anyway, so I'm very excited about the 2 new ships that we knew and the other 2 that are coming. Oh, and on top of that, at long last, we are finally getting an Angel Cartel Titan. I'm so happy that I have an alt that's been training into a Naglfar for the past couple of months and has recently just reached the end of that point, because it's not too far to go from a Naglfar into a Titan, so having an Angel Cartel Titan could be pretty sweet, and that's something I'm very much looking forward to. Obviously, we've seen a lot of the artwork for the Angel Cartel capital ships for a while now. Those have been hinted at and sort of been left as something undisturbed and just not really talked about and not developed. So to finally see those is really quite cool, and it's exciting to see how that's going to play into everything. So Angel Cartel Titan, new battle cruisers and destroyers for the Gurustus Pirates and the Angel Cartel. That's all good in my book. We then got some very exciting news about EVE Vanguard, and I'm going to put a little pin in that and come back to it, because before we saw EVE Vanguard, a couple of interesting points that may more directly impact my community rather than those of you who have clicked on this watching for an EVE Online perspective. Now, obviously, I started my EVE career properly. I've had an EVE account since 2012, but never really used it. I started my personal EVE career properly with EVE Echoes. And we got the announcement there that EVE Echoes is going to be adding Black Ops battleships. That's the first I've actually heard of that. Nothing has been mentioned to the content creators of Eve Echoes ahead of time, despite our NDAs. Nothing, not a word. I don't imagine that's going to be the Panther, the Sin, the Widow, and whatever the Amar one's called. I imagine they will be just a Black Ops variant of their base hull. So, for example, whereas the Panther is a Minmatar Typhoon battleship that uses large projectile turrets, I imagine in Eve Echoes it's just going to be the Typhoon Black Ops, and it will have missile bonuses. That kind of thing. So those of you familiar with the Black Ops battleships, that's kind of how I expect it. Will they get covert sinos? I'd hope so. I don't see the point of a Black Ops battleship if it doesn't have a covert sino, but again, it is what it is. You know, we'll see how that actually works in the future with jump bridges and things like that. And I think that could be an interesting thing for Echoes. I genuinely think it could actually bring more accessible PvP to a game that needs more destruction badly. I just can't wait to see how NetEase screw around with that. Thirdly, we then had Project M5 officially announced, and for the life of me, I can't remember now what they actually have called it. My brain has just fallen out of my ears whilst recording this. I'm just going to go through to my emails because I have signed up for this. Eve Galaxy Conquest. This is now available for pre-registration with Google Play and on iOS. So you go to Eve Galaxy Conquest, type that into Google, and it'll come up with a pre-registration page. You can sign up to be notified when the game launches and probably get a few bits ahead of time. Now, this is Project M5. The footage they showed on screen is literally Project M5. So this means I can talk a little bit about what we've seen. I've not checked with anyone here about how far my NDA extends on this, so I can't say too much. But Project M5 was kind of a top-down 4X base builder mobile experience. It's one of those games you've seen 1,000 times before, where you have your base and you do things to improve the quality of your base and unlock more things to make your base bigger, to do more things to make your base bigger. Think Stellaris Fleet Command, that kind of thing. However, obviously not only does it have an Eve flavour, it actually has some really interesting gameplay loops to it. You're not just building a fleet and manoeuvring them around, there's a lot of real-time strategy, and I don't mean RTS as in like StarCraft and Command & Conquer, I mean actual real-time, like Infinite Lagrange is on mobile, the kind of thing where you set something up and it's going to take a few hours to complete, and unlike Eve Echoes, you don't have to remain logged in for that. You can just log out, let it do its thing, and come back later that day and pick up where you left off, knowing that that thing has been done. There is a lot of strategy in this. There are genuinely some, really interesting gameplay designs, and I'm intrigued to see where this is going to go. I did both of the 2 Project M5 tests, and I honestly really enjoyed both of them. There are some concerns I have. Obviously, I can't talk about this freely right now because of the NDA. I don't know how much of that I'm allowed to step outside of. I do have some concerns with it, and I have levied those to CCP, to the relevant people who were working on that project at the time. So I'm interested to see, I'm excited by the game more than I'm concerned, I do hasten to add. Genuinely, it was a hell of a lot of fun for the time that I had with it, and I'm keen to see where that goes. So anyway, Eve Vanguard. Eve Vanguard is the sort of successor. They're trying to be careful here not to talk about it as Dust 514.5. It is not a sequel to Dust 514. It's not a return of Dust 514. It's apparently having learned from Dust 514. And from the way that this is being described, it's a first-person shooter set in the EVE universe inside EVE Online. That makes me think it's going to be part of the same launcher. We've recently seen that the EVE Online launcher has gone into a beta. There's a new beta version of it, and that has a lot of space and a lot more things on it. I think that we're going to see EVE Vanguard as something that you can launch from that launcher, and it's going to be hooked into EVE Online very directly. You take control of a clone soldier in a first-person shooter environment where you are boots on the ground on one of New Eden's planets, and you have various different tasks. We watched a few of the devs actually playing it live, where they jump onto a planet. They've been tasked with recovering a data chip. They have to shoot some NPCs to get through, including swapping ammunition types, like missiles, going from kinetic damage in their rifles to electromagnetic damage at one point in the video, before then fighting off other players at the end and ultimately losing. And this seems to be tied in with the Deathless stuff that we talked about earlier, this whole new Zark, whatever it's called, I've completely forgotten. I'm just so hyper, and I've had like 4 hours sleep in the past 3 days. it looks like it's going to tie in with all of this, where in EVE Online you can sign up for faction warfare with these two new, with the Deathless, basically, and just cause chaos and havoc on the front lines, which sounds really cool. And then it looks like essentially EVE Vanguard is going to be doing that on sort of a planetary level to this. Now, one of the things that was asked to me as we were walking back toward the hotel was, how do we know this isn't just going to flop just like Dust 514 did? And ultimately, yeah, Dust 514 was a fantastic game, but it had a lot of faults to it. One, it had a bit of a troubled development cycle. It then was a PlayStation 3 exclusive at a time when the PlayStation 3 was not a particularly popular console compared to the Xbox 360. There was a lot of stuff went on with Dust. Brilliant game, although I wish I could have played more of it at the time. I sort of dabbled. I think by linking this directly in with EVE Online, that's a smart move. And by making it story beat related is a smart move as well, because it means they can essentially have us join the Vanguard as this part of the EVE Online story. And then if it goes well, then the Vanguard can be retooled to work in the next steps of the story. But if it doesn't work well and people don't engage with it, you can just go, well, cool, it was that part of the story. That's done, so we're therefore going to move on to the next thing and just enjoy that for what it was. That said, the talk about all of this EVE forever and things like that really has me excited that CCP are going all in on this now. They've had 20 years of mistakes to learn from, and look, I'm not going to try and say CCP are perfect. I'm not here to be a fanboy to you all. You guys know as well as I do that there have been a lot of mistakes over the years, and plenty of things that CCP have done I've gone, wait, what? But the bottom line is, I think if we're being honest, CCP have spent 20 years making mistakes and ultimately learning from them. And so I don't imagine that they're going to just basically go, oh, well, the community wants Dust 514 back, let's just do that again, and ultimately repeat old mistakes. That's not what's going to happen. They're going to be clever about this. They're going to look at the situation and think, how can we make that better than it was before? How can we future-proof this? They've got a game that is 2 decades old. They're not looking to try and rush a new product out the door that's just going to be super exciting and then flop once it's made its money. That's not what they're looking to do here. They are looking for brand longevity, and that comes through careful decision-making and coming up with a product and a service that people actively want and have faith in. And so do I have faith in that? Yeah, I do. To the point that I've signed up for something. I don't even know what. I got a wonderful email yesterday saying, hey, you're going to be scooped up on a bus from CCP head office at 4 o'clock and off you go, sort of thing. By the way, don't tell anyone about this, or don't tell anyone, we can't tell you any details beyond this. Like, literally the email says in it, please be aware that, we are aware of the vagueness and sort of the crypticness of this email. It'll be worth it. So I'm allowed to talk about that. I'm not under an NDA yet or anything. I've just had a really cool, enticing email saying you're going to be whisked away for something super top secret. I don't know. I'm looking forward to maybe one day being able to talk to you guys about it and go, that was me, like I'm able to now a bit with Project M5. But that's basically it. That is the stuff that we had at Fanfest's Keynote. There is still EVE Redacted tomorrow. Several panels about that as well that I will be attending. And if you guys like this format, again, apologies for the quality of the camera. Obviously, this is a low-tech camera, but it's what I've got handy, right? Yeah. If you guys enjoy this, I'll try and do the same thing tomorrow evening if I get a chance to, between the end of Fanfest and the party at the top of the world, because I'm not missing that for the world. Anyway, folks, if you do have any questions about Fanfest, please do let me know down below. Do DM me on Discord as well. I'm trying to speak to the community there as well. Obviously, I'm out and about around Reykjavik. I'm not going to be able to necessarily respond in a timely manner, but I will try to respond to the best of my ability. Same with the comment section down below. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. I do want to try and get YouTube's algorithm to promote this to the fullest of its capabilities. Otherwise, it's time for me to freshen up, swap the hat off for something else, and enjoy my evening here in Reykjavik, because tonight is the pub crawl.